Oh, that's the stuff. Oh my god. Oh. Sorry. I didn't see you guys there. This is actually, I don't care. Oh my god, it's so good. Oh. Hello then, my fellow hunters. How you doing? I can only imagine the answer is thrillingly well, outstandingly good, brilliantly adequate. It kind of went off the rails towards the end there, but the point is, we're still fresh off that infusion of all things wilds that was Gamescom, and if you know there is one thing most nearest and dearest to mine heart, if we ignore RageGamingVideos, which believe me, I don't like to often do, it's greatsword. It's not exactly a revelatory statement to say it has been my favourite weapon forever, and I have occasionally been known to tell people that. I'm sorry, Rurikan. But at least it has its practical uses, you know? I would like to think that I know the greatsword pretty well, and really, how could I not have a talk about the greatsword in Monster Hunter Wilds? The main new things that it's going to be doing, how I think that'll actually affect playing the weapon, and did we get a good upgrade? Did we get good changes? Is it the right direction for the weapon? Spoiler alert! Yes, oh my god, massively, with a few little asterisks that we'll get into. Oh, and I do want to quickly say that because we are limited in the amount of our own footage we can show you, there's not going to be a lot of our own greatsword footage here, sadly. Though, that said, of course, everything I'm going to talk about, you know, is a thing, and none of it really needs specific examples anyway to get the point across, and a lot of it I can pick and choose from the official stuff, but just as a heads up. So, beginning then, we have the core World Iceborne moveset as, like, the base. We're back on Team True Charge Strike, you know, we've not carried over any strong arming from Sunbreak, which I'm really happy about. Don't get me wrong, being that powerful, hitting that hard was fun, but the greatsword shouldn't be a counter weapon. I've said that a few times. In fact, I've gone on to say that greatsword's kind of unique niche, which is something I wish they'd always lean into more, is tank damage to deal damage. The I don't care, power through the monster, hit it harder. Shoulder tackle in a nutshell, but Rage Slash was a really good way to make that concept shine too. And while we've not got Rage Slash back, we have got shoulder tackle enhanced. We have got it lent into just a little bit more. The main thing being that if you shoulder tackle through a monster attack, you get a little flash to let you know you've done a good job, and then if you go into True Charge Strike off that, you're fully charged, ready to go, ready to let it fly. Which is big, because normally you tackle, go into True Charge, and then 1, 2, 3, you're fully charged, let's go. So we've cut out that 1, 2, 3, fully charged, let's go. And that seems subtle, but it's going to feel awesome. An extra reward for actually tackling, not just using it to skip to the next levels of the combo, but actually a little bit of a payoff for deliberately holding and waiting and timing the monster attack that's coming. That is lovely, but as I just said, it is subtle, and I have heard and seen a few little almost disappointment grumbles when it comes to the greatsword that we didn't get anything like earth-shattering, we didn't get anything completely redefining for the weapon's identity, but I don't think the greatsword needed that. I understand the want for something unbelievably like, oh my god, anime crazy, what is this? But at the same time, it's really not necessary. Greatsword is impeccably solidly designed. In my opinion, it's got one of just the best movesets to just pick up and use in the game. It functions superbly. There's very little I would point to and say that needs smoothing out. But this little change, which is one of a few that we've gotten, is somewhere that smoothing can happen. Letting us actually shoulder tackle a monster attack to skip some charging time is a detail that will be really appreciated while playing, but doesn't look crazy in preview footage. And I think that kind of mentality is important to remember here. Then we have to go into, well, the biggest deal possible. I don't think it is an exaggeration to say that Greatsword, out of every weapon, has got the most out of focus mode. Every weapon obviously can equally use it, but in Greatsword's case, you know where I'm going, we can just rotate 180 like that, snapping to the direction that we want to be before letting loose our charge. This is absolutely astronomically impactful, because now I don't have any excuses for all of the true charges I'm going to miss, and Conan's going to be so merciless. Okay, no, it obviously is a big deal. The accuracy increase of Greatsword, which, let's be honest, it's sometimes known for not being the most accurate, with the one brain cell we have to all share, is going to go through the roof in a way that is really fun and that rewards a little bit of quick, okay, cool, focus mode, turn, there, boom, and that's going to feel, again, really good to play. It does feel really good to play. I got Hollow to play a load of Greatsword so I could really get some intimate sword swinging details from him, and it really is the case that it changes everything. And it's not just hitting with it is easier, it's hitting the specific part of the monster you want to hit easier, which fuels the creating wounds to keep hitting the same spot, but also just weak spots, cutting tails, breaking parts in general, hitting the head. It lets us be so much more precise than we've ever been able to be before, and that is glorious. As is, at least in theory, our offset attack. Holding triangle circle, charging up a uppercut, if timed with the monster attack, sends them reeling. You then use the hook to pull yourself in, a little bit Frontier-esque running extreme vibes, and then do this awesome slam down using your body weight to power the Greatsword. Thematically, animation-wise feel, it's insanely good. It is 11 out of 10, oh my god. My only concern here is sort of why. And this is something that I think will need a little bit more time to come to fruition. But in a world where we can shoulder tackle and go straight into a true charge strike, we're always essentially going to want to do that. So if our offset attack is charge and time to do big hit and then follow up, if we're going to charge in time anyway, we're probably going to be wanting to charge and time the shoulder tackle for the true charge. So we obviously don't know motion values yet, which is something I really want for this offset attack. If it ends up being more damage, including the follow-up, than true charge, then yeah, it's got a real place. But then we fall into the trap that we're just going to want to keep using that, which is another awkward thing to navigate. So I feel like this move in a vacuum is phenomenal, but it needs to find its place. It really does. As a reactionary way to deal with a sudden monster attack, that might be the one. Not fully charging it, it's coming to you quickly, offset, boom, and we're away. Because if we're not already about to tackle into the true charge, then we're not going to suddenly get there. Its speed is better, its whirl up is faster. That is, I think, one of its strengths, but we do need to answer this question of ultimately, what is our better damage per time investment, and what is easier to get off? Tackling through your combo into a true charge strike, or timing an offset attack with the follow-up. And I think that's going to be an interesting decision, and I don't want to end up in a situation, though I worry we might be, where the offset attack kind of just doesn't get used that much out of a few niche situations, only if you really, want to use it for fun, God forbid, and most of the time we're really focusing on doing our true charge strike cycles, using the new shoulder tackle to speed them up, and getting damage in that way. So we will see how that turns out, but as again, in a vacuum, as I say, it's such a cool attack, and honestly, that's probably enough by itself. The whole sequence of it running in, doing the slam, it does feel amazing, and is something I'm so glad that we have gotten. Then another mechanic shared with other weapons, but one that especially helps greatsword, is perfect guarding. If you time your block just before the monster hits, you'll get a perfect guard now. And with greatsword, if you perfect guard, you don't get chunked for massive amounts of your health, and you don't lose, or at least you lose massively less, sharpness, which is a game changer. Quite literally. Before Wilds, blocking with the greatsword, let's be honest, it's a rookie mistake, alright? It's a signifier of someone that's not really got to grips with the weapon. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a helpful function. It's useful to be able to block in an emergency. It's not like I don't do it and haven't done it. Sometimes you don't have the time to roll, to sheath, to dive, to do something, so you just hold the block button and you get out of the situation, you eat the sharpness loss, and you learn and move on. It's a really good thing that the weapon has it. But generally, the rule of thumb is you never want to actually go out your way to block with a greatsword, because it just works against you. Whereas now, if we can perfect time block, which comes with essentially no penalties like normal, and it recovers faster and you can get back into it, you're not getting sent flying backwards with recoil, we don't need to build like guard up or guard skills in it from the looks, we then have this ability to, reactively take an attack and then get straight back into dealing damage. If shoulder tackle isn't ready, if we're not in the right part of the combo, if we're caught unawares. I don't think it's something, again, we're going to be going out of our way to do, but it definitely elevates from a, oh, you've made a mistake because you've had to block on the greatsword, to, yeah, no, that was a fine response to that situation. Neat. And then we do have the added extra element that, hey, if it's a perfect guard that's a timed block, it's probably going to be something that is offensive guardable, if offensive guard does make its way into Wilds. And deliberately perfect guarding to keep that attack increase might come into play on top of any new skills or set bonuses that might actually happen. And then, of course, we have the added benefit that, yes, triggering a power clash off this guard. The power clash being, you know, you're pushing against it, shoulder up to the monster in the doshaguma's mouth, and that's all well and good. If you've got allied hunters, they can take advantage of that moment, but it's not just a gimmick or useless if you're by yourself. This is a big deal and a real reward for winning a power clash, and indeed a reason to trigger them. If you win your power clash, you go instantly into a true charge from nothing. That is awesome, and such a useful bit of tech for the greatsword. To get rewarded for this power clash by then immediately throwing out your strongest, presumably still the strongest move we have in our arsenal, is just a badass little chain of events. We get to hold the monster down and then put it down after that. So fishing for clashes as often as they're allowed, I imagine they might have like an internal cooldown like your turf wars and such. Otherwise we're just going to have like fishing for them constantly as a way to play, which might happen, but I do think that that's really, really nice. So essentially you'll be in a situation where it makes sense to perfect guard and attack, and then you'll get a clash, and then you'll get a free true charge anyway, and that's just going to feel good and add an extra level of smoothness to the greatsword. And it's one of those examples that, yes, we're not getting like this fundamental, altering, life-changing change to the weapon, but it's lots of these little extra layers that just make it play that much smoother, that let us do our, you know, biggest attack and probably most satisfying attack to land in the game that much easier and more consistently. And I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that greatsword in Wilds will feel better, and then some, than greatsword in any other Monster Hunter game. Like, yeah, that's not insane. Obviously, 5th gen onwards feels a lot smoother than the first 4, but even compared to World, Iceborne, Rise, and Sunbreak, it's just going to click in a way that I don't think it ever quite has, and I personally cannot wait for it. Then we have ourselves our actual wound popper, the sort of saw blade down the monster. The cool thing about the greatsword one can pop multiple wounds as you saw blade down the monster, which is really nice. It's yet to know exactly how useful popping wounds is going to be without really being able to dig into the numbers and how it mechanically works, but it certainly can only be a good thing that that happens. So that's something to really think about when letting your greatsword be the one to pop wounds, as they can only be popped once, not once per hunter. And that's going to be a factor to think about, on top of it just looking gnarly. Also, the mount finisher of the greatsword is very similar. You put the sword in, run down the monster, sawing, and again you can pop wounds, which is a lovely bit of utility that I'm sure will come to the fore as we dig deeper into Wilds. Basically, we've got a lot of really impactful stuff that I think is easy to miss for just how impactful it actually is. You can't really put stuff like, oh yeah, you skip into true charge if you tackle a attack in a trailer and really put it across to anyone that doesn't intimately know the weapon. But actually having played it, got our own gameplay of greatsword, seeing what people are saying, etc., there is a lot to be excited for here and a lot to love. It's going to be that beautiful core-based moveset we love from World and Iceborne with meaty true charge strikes, but executed in a way that's never going to have felt better. Easier, smoother, more raw with shoulder tackling, the offset attack, the wound popper, and I really think we are in for a fantastic time, and I am very, very excited. Honestly, my only real concern, as I talked about, is where exactly the offset attack is going to fit into the natural flow of the weapon, but that's something that we do really need proper numbers to identify. In any case, I am happy. I am very, very happy. You could have just given me being able to rotate while charging, and I would be very, very happy. So everything else is just multiple cherries on top. Oh, yes. I can't wait to see what new skills we have that can help out with a greatsword set bonuses too. I feel like we're going to have some really special playstyles here. For now, though, let me know what you think too. Like if you've enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below. And until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.